Welcome to the Healing for Male Survivors podcast. This is a podcast for male survivors of sexual abuse and assault, whether as a child or as an adult. Know that you are not alone and the abuse was not your fault. My name is Mike Chapman. I'm a certified recovery life coach and also a survivor. Let's find hope and healing together. Welcome to the Healing for Male Survivors podcast, and this is Mike Chapman. And today we have continuing our live podcast interviews. This is week 3, and our guest today is Luke Wiersma. Luke is a survivor, and he and I both have appeared several times on the No Longer Ashamed podcast. That's where we met. I've shared my story there, and he has too. We both appeared on panel discussions on that podcast as well. And I can't wait for you to meet him, and I will have him introduce himself. So, Luke, welcome to the podcast.
I'm glad to be here.
So, tell us about you. However you want to share your story. I know mine. I kind of jump back in time, whatever you feel comfortable doing. So tell me about your story and your healing journey.
Started when I was 16. It was a family friend. Oh, not family, but like a friend's family's friend. She was 22. And like she would hang out with us, smoke weed with us, whatever. And that lasted about 3 weeks. After that 3 weeks is when the abuse started. She would buy us alcohol, whatever drugs we wanted. I was using heroin, mainly. She would wait until we were drugged, wait till we were high, and then hold us down and sexually abuse us. Full penetration. She would make us, as guys, it was uncomfortable as well. But she made us perform the acts on each other, including sex, anal sex. Which made me, for a long time, question my sexuality. That ended at 18. It continued from 16 to 18. Usually it was about 3 to 4 times a week. And then at 18, she dropped us like a bad habit. I think what it was we just got too old.
Right.
We aged out. So
right. Yeah, if she had the set age where, pubescent boys, that you aged out. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And my drug abuse continued after that for years. I've overdosed 4 times on drugs. Was clinically dead once. I was constantly using something. It was all to hide what had happened. The sexual abuse.
So what happened after she dropped you? Abuse continued as well? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Right.
The abuse of myself continued.
Okay. See what you mean.
Because I didn't want to accept it. I didn't like myself. I hated myself.
There's all that pain that you have to deal with to survive, and there's a lot of pain there. And
there was a lot. I attempted suicide 4 times as well. By grace of God, I wasn't successful. And so about 21, I was drinking really heavy. Um, and I was angry. I was so angry.
Right.
Uh, and I was drunk, and it was the middle of the winter blizzard. I walked, and it was about 3 miles I walked that night drunk, trying to find her house, which I didn't know where it was because she was smart. We didn't know her last name. We didn't know where she lived. Nothing. We
So
knew
all these
nothing
things
about
that
her.
were performed on you were not at her house. It was at a different location.
It was, oh, yes, it was at a park of all
Wow.
places, in a bathroom in a park. And if it wasn't in the bathroom, next to it was the like the maintenance area, which was always left open. It would happen in there.
Uh,
And there was I remember lots of banging, like banging in excitement. And I don't, like, still don't have like a clear visual picture of it. All I remember is that sound. I don't know who was doing it. I'm guessing someone was excited. Um, I remember fighting back, but I was not able to. Um, yeah. So I just had all this anger and all of this emotions, right? And I'm drunk trying to find her because I was going to kill her. And something stopped me. And I can only say I believe it was God. For doing that. Otherwise, I would have ended up in jail for the rest of my life. Um, so
so God
that,
saved you from that is what you're saying.
yeah,
And
yeah. I believe God stopped me from committing murder. I still believe she'll get justice, and I've forgiven her at this point. I have.
right.
Um, but I still believe that in the end, God will judge her for her sins, and it's not my place anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Letting that that's a huge step for sure. So, what got you started on your healing journey? And also, I was wondering, have you talked to any of those co-victims since then? That
I,
the other boys.
um, one of them joined the military, so I don't talk to him. He pretty much refuses to talk to us, and the other one's a really bad alcoholic. So I won't talk to him because I've quit drinking and I'm trying to stay on the road of recovery, and I don't want that in my life.
Yeah,
I thought, um, all I can do is pray for them.
yeah.
Um, the other question, I'm sorry, what was the other question again?
And how have you started the healing journey? What got you going?
Oh, so I was in federal prison when I actually kind of started it because I was talking to the therapist about it. That was in there.
So, how did you get
Um,
to prison? What happened?
oh, I was under the influence and um, threatened 2 abortion clinics, threatened to blow them up with people inside,
Oh,
um,
yeah,
which was a horrible choice.
right.
Um, and I don't know, I just don't have an excuse for that. But it led to me beginning this, which was a little bit, which was actual psychologist about it. When I got out, I believe I called it was Kevin from No Longer Afraid. I
Okay.
had heard
The
one of their podcasts.
Kevin Bolger, who was our guest last week. Yes.
I had heard one of their podcasts and I wanted to speak about it. So I called him and I told him my story, as hard as it was. Told him my story. And I was a guest on their podcast the first time. And that really got me into wanting to recover more. That was a big influence on my life. Um, and it made me want to get into advocacy more too, which I now do.
Right, with your multiple podcast appearances, like me, sharing your story whenever you can. I think that's
Correct.
so important.
And I also lead a men's group, men's support group.
Yes. Is it all for survivors as well?
Correct.
Or
It's also all male survivors. They also have a women's meeting for all women survivors. It's and that alone too has been a big, very big inspiration in my life. I truly believe. Sorry, I truly believe that that this is the work that God wants me to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. And working with other survivors has been such a blessing to me as well. That we learn from each other as we support each other, and it's like if you have a teacher who's teaching the student, usually the teacher learns even more than the students do. I think that's the same for leading support groups, because you learn so much more, and it kind of forces you to learn more so you have more to share. And it's very, very helpful for sure.
And it also validates you in a sense, because at least for the support group, not even that, with the podcast, so you find out that you're not the only one going through one specific thing, one specific struggle. Other people who survive this are also going through that. And you go, okay, they're going through that. They made it through that. I can make it through that too.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Knowing that you're not alone.
Exactly.
Having a safe place where you can share with people who get it is so helpful. So many men just they've experienced this, but they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So, what are you doing now to further your recovery?
So I'm in therapy, seeing a psychologist, and working on all my issues, which is a lot.
Right.
As I'm still leading the support group, and when I find myself having a panic attack, if I catch it, or having a symptom, like a not symptom, but something comes up, and I feel myself getting triggered, right? I can handle it better now.
Right.
Um,
Right.
because I'm learning techniques on how I handle it,
So,
like
what are some of the
grounding.
techniques you learned?
Grounding.
Okay. And
That was a,
describe grounding? What is that, or what
uh,
are the different
I'm,
grounding techniques that you've been using that you can
so
discuss with?
grounding, is, in the summer, they make grounding mats as well now for it. So you can do it in the winter, is taking your shoes and socks off, and you basically you're running them through the grass or a surface, a natural surface, and releasing. I mean, I don't know how to describe the feeling, but it's like releasing all of your bad energy into the earth.
Okay.
It's just letting go of it.
Right, right. And having that physical connection between your feet and the ground,
Hmm.
where,
And
yeah,
you do that by walking in the grass. And like I
right,
said, now they got these mats. I don't know how exactly the mats work, but because I haven't got one, but I guess it's the same concept, you know, running your feet through on solid ground,
right,
knowing you're alive, you're
right,
okay.
yeah,
Um, Breathing techniques, you know, so like inhale 5 seconds, exhale 10 seconds. Um, Meditation helps me a lot. When I do it, I don't do it all the time now, but it helps. Just finding my peaceful place.
yeah. Because, yeah, so often it's so easy to get overwhelmed and with their inner voice and inner monologue.
Oh, my head's chaotic, so sometimes I just have to get away from that.
Right, right. And I know I like, for me, box breathing, which is another breathing technique, where
Yes,
you,
I just
you
learned
breathe
that
in.
one.
So it's, you breathe in, mouth or nose, I don't think it matters. So you breathe in, 2, 3, 4, you hold it, 2, 3, 4. You exhale, 2, 3, 4. Then you hold it, 2, 3, 4. And because you have to do the count, it forces your brain to focus on the counting, and all those reverberations going in your head have to go away because it's focusing on the count. And it kind of stops that inner turmoil, those inner voices going on. And that's helpful for sure for me. Uh, but yeah, anything that you could do to try to calm yourself, and yeah, all those inner critics and all those things telling us that we're unworthy, that we're um, the guilt and the shame so many of us feel, trying to find ways to counteract those negative voices. And yeah, grounding techniques, that sounds very good. I know I love going to the beach barefoot and just having my feet in the sand. That feel, that's, yeah, it's very calming
It's
for sure.
it's relaxing. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 very much. So, uh, now what's going on in your personal life? Any updates there?
Yeah, so I got a girlfriend. Um,
Hey, and how's
which
that
that
going?
for survivors, that's very hard. We have a lot of trust issues.
Very true.
For those who don't know in this, who are listening, yeah. I just having someone, trying to think how to phrase it. Victim, not no. Yeah, I get victimized right now would be the right word. I was trying to think of another word. You like that, and in such a violent way is so horrific that you basically don't trust anybody. You don't trust any human because you don't. it makes you fearful of them. It gives you a lot of doubt of them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
to be able to have a girlfriend is huge in my life.
Yeah. Especially because
And
your perpetrator was female, so it probably it intensifies those feelings of trust, similar to how I have a hard time trusting men, building up male friendships, and so
right,
forth, because that huge trust issue.
yes, that is correct. I think I don't think I've ever really had a healthy relationship until now.
Ah,
Um,
that's
I was
good.
very hypersexual when I was young.
Right.
And I didn't until I started going to therapy, I didn't realize that that was a result of the abuse.
Yeah, oftentimes our brains are trying to recreate the abusive situation, trying to like rewrite the script, trying to process it, and so you reenact. Um, and even sexualizing the abuse is very common. It's something our
Yeah,
brains just do without us thinking about it, but it's very, very true. You don't even realize it exactly that you're doing it until you get to therapy and it's like, yeah, that's not related. It's like, oh, really? Oh, crap. Okay. Uh,
right?
yeah.
It's like a light bulb going off. It's like,
It's like,
oh,
oh,
okay, that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, exactly. So, uh, yeah, and it's very normal to face that for sure.
Um,
So,
so to
have you
have a
shared
health,
a story with your girlfriend, and how did that go?
say that again.
You shared your story with your girlfriend, and how
I
did that?
I did. So I was very fearful about that, of
I'm
course.
sure.
Um, I thought I had it in my mind that she was going to be disgusted. Um, she was going to reject me, walk away, want nothing to do with me. And it was the exact opposite. She told me she loved me
Yeah,
and that she was there for me and told me it was going to be okay. And the usual of course, I'm sorry that happened to you. Um, it was a positive experience to be able to share that with her. Um,
that's good.
very, I think it was a very fulfilling moment, very pivotal moment in our relationship.
That's wonderful.
And it definitely made me trust her a lot more.
And
So
that's great that you had that and that it went well, because yeah, it could go south. But it sounds like she has enough grounding in herself that, yeah, she was able to receive that message from you and give you the support you needed, and hopefully that will continue. That's awesome. Dude.
yeah, and I've been happy before, but this is just I don't know, a different kind of happy.
Right, and remind our audience, if you have any questions for Luke, feel free to put that in the Q&A section, and feel free to write your real name or fake name, or post anonymously, however you want to be referred to when you ask the questions. And while we're waiting for any questions to appear, any other words of wisdom or advice for other male survivors out there?
Don't be ashamed.
Yeah,
It's not your fault. Um, it took me a long time to realize that, but in the end, I now realize that this wasn't my fault. This is her or my perpetrator's fault.
exactly. Exactly. And all the guilt and shame goes on them for sure.
Exactly.
And we got some questions in the Q&A. Let me Let me pop it onto the screen. Let's see. Here we go. Uh, okay. Just a comment, Luke. This is from one of our audience members. I am so sorry to hear your story. Such a trap and destruction. You have survived so many devastating things. It is encouraging to see how you are seeking your healing in the aftermath of this chaos. You are so strong. Keep the line, brother. Keep on going in your healing.
Thank you. It means a lot. It does. Just to hear those words means a lot.
Thank you. Another question says, do you know what was the perp's objective? Just sexual fantasy? Was she reporting you?
She
Or
wasn't. She wasn't recording. No, at least not that I was aware of. But I was really strung out. So
happened in a
I
public place, like you said. So
yeah. I don't think she was
that,
recording. I think it
yeah,
was just sexual fantasy,
right, right.
just to get her rocks off.
Right. Let's see. Um, good question. I can't. Let's see. Laptop trying to get this thing to scroll. Come on. Come on.
It was.
Okay. Another question. Who was the first person you told, and how old were you?
My mom, and I was about 25 when I told her.
Oh,
Um,
and how old are you now?
I was about 25.
No, but how old are you now?
39. I'm about to be 40.
Okay.
Um, her reaction wasn't what I expected. She didn't know how to react. She didn't respond well to it, which I understand that.
Right.
I get that.
Yeah. Have you revisited that with her? Has she mentioned it afterwards? Or
I haven't. But no, I have. Um, like a year ago, I think it was, and she was very accepting of it. I'm so sorry that happened. I love you. Um, you know, mom being mom.
Yeah.
Most all my family knows now,
Right.
but I'm okay with that.
Sounds like she's in a better place to receive
She
it
is.
and share than she was initially. And you tell, and it can be shocking for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
To know that their child was hurt. It's hard for any parent to take that. So yeah, I'm glad she was able to eventually respond in a positive way.
I
That
mean,
same person said,
personally, I
uh-huh.
can't imagine. I was gonna say personally, I can't imagine what it was like for her to
Right.
hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know small things happen to my kids and I get very, yeah, Papa Bear comes out big time. Um, so yeah, I get that. Yeah, the same person said, thank you so much for being here and sharing. Another person says, wow, Luke, that's quite an intense story of pain and heartache. I'm so proud of you for working on yourself and how far you have come already. Keep it up. I'm curious about your family of origin. What was that dynamic like, and what is it like now? And have you told your family? You kind of mentioned that. You told your mom, and you mentioned you told the rest of them. So, what was it like growing up in your family? So, your abuse happened in the late teens, but what brought you to that point where you were wanting to experiment with drugs and alcohol and so forth, getting you to that point where you were easily victimized? What
Um,
things happened, if you're willing to share? That's a great question.
So took some therapy to figure it out that there was some abuse in my past, psychological abuse from my dad, physical abuse from my peers when I was younger as well in school, through all the way through high school.
Please and whatnot.
And during high school, I think it was running away from it all is why I started smoking weed, to run
Right.
away, but also to be part of the crowd, be part of the in crowd, the cool kids, because they were all doing it. And you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
That I honestly never thought about why I did it. I guess it was just hiding from myself.
But if you had that verbally abusive background with your father, I'm sure that worked on your own feelings of self-worth and all that pain and anger
No,
inside
I'm
of you
sure it
had to
did.
find a release. Where you found release.
Yeah. And I mean, the family dynamic's still the same, pretty much. So,
Um,
um, I try to stay away from it.
right. Yeah, I moved across the country to get away from my family. I love them, but to get healthy, I really needed distance. Yeah, that. So yeah, I totally get that. Um, Another person in the audience says you were so strong. Um, Another one says, I do believe that God has a purpose for you. You are a worthy man. That's right. You are hearing his call. He did not want this abuse for you, but you worked through so many calls away from him and found your way to where you are now. Yeah,
I agree.
for sure. And you're helping other men by sharing your story and then being there in the support groups and so forth. And I know you've been on several podcast platforms as well.
Oh,
I love to hear you share your story. Sure. Um, Anything else you want to share? And then we're going to move to the 4 questions. We're doing it at the end this time.
mm,
Mostly because I forgot. So anything
yeah,
closing?
nothing else.
Huh?
Nothing else I can think of, honestly. Uh,
All right, then let's go to 4 questions.
Now it's time for 4 questions, that part of the podcast when we get to know our guest a bit better by asking a few questions. Let's go.
What is your favorite food memory?
see, the first time I ate calamari,
Oh, cool. Yes,
it was
squid.
very interesting dish, but I fell in love with it. The texture was weird, but yeah, it was one of my favorite dishes.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a unique option. I have had calamari, yeah, and it does have texture. What is your favorite Christmas or holiday memory?
Opening Christmas presents at Grandma's house.
Oh, okay.
Ah,
Yeah.
she
And
was so
what
loving
oh, huh.
and I, uh, I don't know, I just loved being there. It was very comforting to be at Grandma's house.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, grandmas are great. I had 2 very loving grandmothers. Yeah, I love going to their houses when I was young. Um, they have a special way of loving us if you have good ones. So yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So what else? What was special about your grandma with you?
With the Christmas or in general?
You know,
Oh, her kindness. It
yeah,
was so much. She had just had so much kindness and love for others.
Yeah.
She could be strict. She is a very godly woman. So she had that too,
Right.
but she was still very loving.
Yeah. It sounds like Luke really needed that extra loving person in his life. Okay. And what is your favorite church memory?
Going to church and sitting with grandma at church. She would always slip us a little lemon drop candy every time
Oh,
during the sermon. And we always looked forward to that lemon drop.
aw. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's a good memory. I like that. Yeah, I've got a food memory too. I like talking about that because they're positive triggers. We have so many negative triggers, but food can often be a positive trigger. Same thing with smells, um, that they trigger memories and they very strong reaction from food and smells and so forth. That's why I like to ask some of these questions. And what is your favorite scripture or any inspirational quote that has helped you on your spiritual journey? And what about it speaks to you?
Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me.
Yeah,
That verse has always spoke to me. And you know, I remembered that verse throughout every struggle,
for
that
sure.
God is there with me and Christ is strengthening me.
And I've seen you grow over the past year so that I've gotten to know you. And yeah, I'm so thrilled with how far God has brought you and how far God has brought me too in all of this. Um, yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Now, you do a support group. Is that with your church or with an organization?
Say that
You run a support group for other male survivors?
through an organization, SCSA, it's called, Survivors of Childhood Sex Abuse.
Okay. Okay. And yeah, is there a link for that or a website for that where they can
It's
I'll get it in the show notes as well.
scsaorg.org.
Okay. All right. I'll have that in the show notes. And are you on social media if people want to reach out to you?
I am on Facebook. I believe my Facebook is on private right now. If you're friends with Mike, I believe you'll find me very quickly.
Yeah. Filled out Luke Wiersma, full name. So yeah, it should be relatively fun.
If you would like to learn more about my coaching with Polar Live Consulting, where I provide one-on-one coaching and group coaching, both with a focus on healing for male survivors, reach out to me at polarliveconsulting.com. That is Polar spelled Polar. I would love to hear from you. I want to hear your story. If you would like your story featured on this podcast, contact me via my website. If you like this podcast, please rate and review because that's how other people can find me, and I really want to spread this message of healing and hope to others. And remember, you are not alone. Healing is possible, and the abuse was not your fault. Let me repeat that. The abuse was not your fault. See you next time on the Healing for Male Survivors podcast.